The beacon floated in the darkness of space, its lights blinking in a pattern that had repeated for 300 years. Ambassador Vekthar watched it through the viewing screen of his ship, his 6 eyes narrowing with curiosity. The ancient device sat near the edge of what maps called the Dead Zone, a vast region of space where humans once lived. "Should we bring it aboard?" his aide asked. Vekthar nodded. The Vrail Collective had spread across many star systems since the humans vanished. They were powerful now, feared by others, but they still wondered about the species that built these strange machines and then disappeared without explanation. The beacon was small, no larger than a storage container. When the technicians activated it, a hologram appeared. A human woman in a formal uniform stood before them, her face tired and sad. She spoke in the common trade language that all species used. "This is Ambassador Park of the Human Stellar Commonwealth. If you are receiving this message, we are gone. We are going dark. Do not follow us into our territories. Do not try to wake us. This is not a threat. This is a warning. For your sake, let us sleep." The message ended. Vekthar played it again and again, trying to understand. The humans had been the strongest military force in the galaxy. Their ships could destroy planets. Their weapons bent the laws of physics. Then, 3 centuries ago, they simply stopped. Their colonies went silent. Their fleets disappeared. Most species believed they had died from some terrible plague or civil war. But this message said something different. It said they chose to leave. Far across the galaxy, on a salvage station near a dead star, Jiho pulled a strange device from the wreckage of an old ship. He was young, barely 20, with dark hair and quick hands. The aliens who raised him taught him to find valuable technology in abandoned places. They never told him he was different from them, but he knew. His skin was smooth, not scaled. He had 2 eyes, not many. He needed to breathe different air. The device in his hands hummed when he touched it. The alien merchants he worked for could never get these human machines to work. But when Jiho held them, they came alive. Lights blinked. Screens glowed. He heard whispers in a language he did not know but somehow understood. "What did you find?" his supervisor asked, reaching for the device. When the alien touched it, the device went dark and silent. When Jiho took it back, it hummed again. "I do not know," Jiho said quietly, "but I will keep looking." In the great archives of the Vrail capital world, Hana worked late into the night. She was their chief archivist, responsible for collecting and studying the history of all known species. But her true obsession was humanity. She had spent 15 years gathering every piece of information about them. Old trade records, battle reports, diplomatic messages, cultural databases. Other Vrail thought she was wasting her time. Humans were gone. Why did it matter how they lived or why they left? But Hana had found something strange. In the final years before the humans went silent, they had won a war, a terrible war against something the old records called the entities from beyond. The records were incomplete, damaged, but they spoke of a threat that nearly destroyed the entire galaxy. The humans had stopped it, but the cost had been enormous. After that war, humans started to withdraw. They closed their borders. They stopped trading. They stopped communicating. And then, silence. They did not die, Hana whispered to herself, looking at her research. They chose to hide. But why? Across several star systems, a ship moved through the darkness. It was small and fast, painted in colors that made it hard to see. The captain was a woman named Yoon, a mercenary who sold her services to whoever paid well. She was good at her job, surviving battles that killed others. Yoon did not talk about her past. She did not tell people that she had been found drifting in a life pod when she was 5 years old, with no memory of where she came from. She did not mention the dreams she sometimes had, of a blue and green world she had never seen. The medical scans confused every doctor. Her genetic code was in their databases, marked as human. But all the humans were supposed to be gone. Yoon decided long ago to stop asking questions. She focused on surviving, on fighting, on moving forward. But lately, the dreams came more often. Back at Vrail headquarters, the High Council met to discuss expansion. Their empire was strong, but they wanted more. The dead zones held untold riches. Old human technology. Empty worlds, ready for colonization. Resources that could make the Vrail the dominant power in the galaxy. The warnings, Hana said, standing before the council. We should respect them. The humans left those messages for a reason. The humans are gone, the council leader said dismissively. Their warnings mean nothing now. But we do not know why they left, Hana argued. What if they are still out there, just sleeping, like the message said? Then they are weak, another council member said. A species that hides cannot be strong. We will expand into the Orion barrier. We will claim what they abandoned. Hana tried to protest, but the decision was made. Within a month, a colonization fleet of 300 ships would enter the dead zone. They would build new settlements. They would take human technology. They would prove that the Vrail were the true masters of the galaxy. Hana left the council chamber with a heavy heart. She went back to her archives and sent a message to every researcher, every explorer, every person she knew who studied the humans. The message was simple. Find them before the fleet does. Find them and warn them. Jiho received the message on his salvage station. He stared at the words, his hand touching the humming device. Something in his chest tightened. A feeling he could not name. Yoon received the message on her ship. She changed course immediately, setting coordinates for the Orion barrier. And deep in the darkness of space, in the heart of the dead zone, ancient systems registered the approaching Vrail fleet. Computers that had slept for 300 years began to wake. Security protocols activated. Warning systems prepared to sound alarms. In thousands of sealed facilities, in hidden stations and underground bunkers, in massive ships that floated dormant in the void, humans slept in cryogenic pods. They had been sleeping for so long, dreaming of a galaxy that could live without war. But the galaxy was coming to wake them, and when humanity woke, nothing would ever be the same. The Vrail colonization fleet entered the Orion barrier like a swarm of metal insects, 300 ships spreading across the darkness. Commander Zeth stood on the bridge of the lead vessel, watching the sensors light up with readings. Stations, shipyards, habitats, thousands of human structures, all perfectly preserved, floating silently in the void. It is like they left yesterday, his tactical officer whispered. Begin salvage operations, Zeth ordered. Send teams to the nearest stations. I want everything of value cataloged and removed. Jiho was on one of those teams. The Vrail had hired him as a guide because he could activate human technology. He stood in the docking bay of his transport ship, staring out at a massive human station that loomed before them. It was beautiful in a way he could not explain. Smooth curves, elegant design. It felt familiar, like a memory from a dream. Stay close, the team leader told him. Touch nothing unless we tell you to. They entered the station through an airlock that opened when Jiho placed his hand on the panel. Inside, the corridors were dark, but clean. No dust. No decay. Everything waited. In perfect silence. Emergency lights flickered on as they walked, triggered by their movement. Jiho felt something pulling at him, drawing him deeper into the station. The feeling grew stronger with each step. He heard humming in his ears, soft and rhythmic, like a heartbeat. Do you hear that? He asked. The Vrail team members looked at him strangely. They heard nothing. Far behind the fleet, Yoon's ship slipped past the outer patrols. She was good at staying hidden, at moving through spaces others could not see. She watched the colonization fleet through her sensors, counting ships, analyzing their formations. They were making a mistake. She could feel it in her bones. Back on the Vrail capital world, Hana worked frantically in her archive. She had sent warnings, but no one listened. Now she searched through old files, looking for anything that might explain what would happen if someone disturbed the sleeping humans. She found a fragment of a battle report, badly damaged, from the war 300 years ago. Human defense systems are unlike anything we have encountered. The report read, "They do not wait for authorization. They do not hesitate. They respond to threats with overwhelming force. Recommendation: do not engage human military installations unless absolutely necessary." Hannah sent the report to the fleet. Commander Zeth deleted it without reading. He was busy watching his teams explore the treasure trove they had found. On the station, Jiho's team reached a sealed door. It was massive, made of metal that scans could not penetrate. Strange symbols covered its surface, flowing and beautiful. "Can you open it?" the team leader asked Jiho. Jiho approached the door slowly. The humming in his ears grew louder. His hand reached out, almost by itself, and touched the symbols. They glowed blue under his fingers. The door hissed and began to open. Behind it was a chamber filled with pods, hundreds of them, arranged in neat rows, each containing a person. Humans. Sleeping humans, their faces peaceful, their bodies preserved perfectly by the technology that surrounded them, by the void. The team leader breathed. They are real. They are actually here. One of the Vrail soldiers raised his weapon at the nearest pod. "Should we wake one?" "No," Jiho shouted, but it was too late. The soldier fired, cracking the pod's surface. Alarms erupted throughout the station. Red lights flashed. The humming in Jiho's ears became a screaming sound. He fell to his knees, hands over his ears, as something massive awakened around them. The cracked pod opened. A man stepped out, stumbling slightly, his eyes adjusting to the light. He wore a dark uniform with symbols on the shoulders. His black hair was short, his face strong. He looked young, maybe 30, but his eyes were old and tired. "Report," the man said in a language Jiho understood, but the Vrail did not. The words came out of Jiho's mouth before he could stop them, speaking that same language. "Vril colonization fleet, 300 ships. They have entered the Orion barrier." The man's eyes focused on Jiho, studying him with an intensity that made Jiho want to step back. Then the man looked at the Vrail soldiers, at their weapons pointed at the sleeping pods. "I am Commander Suho, of the Human Defense Force," the man said, switching to the trade language. "You have made a terrible mistake." He walked to a panel on the wall and placed his hand on it. The station shuddered. Deep beneath them, systems that had slept for 3 centuries roared to life. The Vrail soldiers backed away, their weapons shaking in their hands. "Please," Suho said quietly. "Leave this place. Go back to your worlds. Forget you found us. Far. We claim this territory by right of salvage," the team leader said, trying to sound brave. "These stations are abandoned." "They are not abandoned," Suho said. "They are protected." He touched the panel again. Far above the station, in the darkness of space, something moved. A structure the size of a small moon had floated dormant among the wreckage for 300 years. Now, it woke, weapons ports opened, targeting systems activated. Power surged through ancient systems that had waited patiently for this moment. On the bridge of the Vrail flagship, Commander Zeth watched his sensors in confusion. "What is that?" "Unknown structure powering up," his tactical officer reported. "Energy readings are off the scale." "Sir, I think it is a defense platform. 1 platform against 300 ships?" Zeth laughed. "Target it. Prepare to fire. Own 1. Zeth laughed, closed tap again. Yoon, watching from her hidden position, whispered into her comm, "No. Don't do it. Please, don't do it." On the station, Suho looked at the Vrail soldiers one last time. "I gave you a chance to leave." The defense platform fired. The beam of energy crossed the distance between the platform and the Vrail flagship in less than a second. The flagship exploded, turning into a ball of fire and debris. Then the platform fired again. And again, and again. Ships died in silence, their shields meaningless against weapons that had been designed to fight threats far worse than anything the current galaxy had ever seen. In 3 minutes, half of the colonization fleet was gone. The remaining ships scattered in panic, running as fast as their engines could carry them. The platform stopped firing. It returned to dormant status, its work complete. In the chamber, the Vril soldiers stood frozen in terror. Suho turned to them, and they saw tears running down his face. "We did this to protect you," he said softly. "We went to sleep so the galaxy could heal, so there could be peace. We sacrificed everything so you would not have to fear us. And you woke us anyway." Jiho stepped forward slowly. "Who are you? What are you?" Suho looked at him, really looked at him. And recognition flashed in his eyes. "You are human. But you do not know it. Do you?" "I am a salvager," Jiho said. "You are so much more than that." Suho touched a panel, and a hologram appeared, showing a man who looked remarkably like Jiho. "This is Minho. He was our chief engineer. He designed the systems that kept us alive while we slept. He died 300 years ago, but his work continued. You have his face. You have his talent with machines. You are his legacy." Jiho stared at the hologram. At the man who could have been his father, his grandfather, his ancestor. "I do not understand." "You will," Suho said. He turned to the Vril soldiers. "Take your people and leave. Tell your leaders what happened here. Tell them that humanity asked for peace, and you gave us war. What comes next is on your hands." The Vril team ran, dragging Jiho with them. He looked back at Suho, at the chamber full of sleeping humans, at the history he never knew he had. As their transport fled toward the edge of the dead zone, Jiho watched the sensors. More stations were waking up. More platforms were powering on. Across hundreds of light years, humanity was stirring from its long sleep. And the galaxy would soon remember why they had been feared. News of the disaster spread across the galaxy like fire. The Vril Collective lost 150 ships in 3 minutes. Survivors told stories of weapons that could not be stopped, of a single defense platform destroying an entire fleet. Fear turned to anger. Anger turned to action. In the halls of the throne ascendancy, the High Emperor stood before his war council. The throne controlled more star systems than any other power. They believed themselves superior to all other species. The idea that sleeping humans could threaten them was insulting. "Assemble the Third Fleet," the Emperor commanded. "We will show these humans that their time has passed. The galaxy belongs to us now." The Kelrath Union saw opportunity instead of danger. They were traders and collectors, always seeking new technology to sell. Human weapons could make them rich beyond measure. Their council of merchants sent secret expeditions into the dead zone, hoping to steal what they could before anyone noticed. The Nomathi sovereignty took a different approach. They were a peaceful species, preferring diplomacy to war. Their representatives sent messages toward the human territories, asking for dialogue, for understanding. The messages went unanswered. The humans, if they were listening, said nothing. Jiho returned to the Vril capital in a state of shock. He had seen power beyond imagination. He had learned he was human, one of the sleeping giants the galaxy had forgotten. The knowledge sat in his chest like a heavy stone. Hana found him in a small cafe near the archives, staring at a cup of cold tea. "You saw them," she said, sitting across from him. "The humans. You saw them wake." Jiho nodded slowly. "One of them. Commander Suho. He knew who I was. He showed me a picture of my ancestor. A man named Minho." "The chief engineer," Hana said softly. "I have read about him in the old records. He was brilliant. He designed the cryosleep systems that kept humanity alive for 3 centuries. Why did they sleep?" Jiho asked. Suho said, "They did it to protect the galaxy, to give us peace. I do not understand. Why? Why? I do not understand." Hana pulled out a data tablet and showed him files she had collected over 15 years of research. Battle reports from the war 300 years ago. Images of torn space and broken worlds. Casualty numbers so high they seemed impossible. There was a war against something from outside our reality, Hana explained. The entities from beyond. They were destroying everything. The humans fought them, and won. But barely. After the war, the humans realized something terrible. They had become too powerful. Their weapons were too dangerous. If they stayed active, eventually they would go to war again. Maybe against each other. Maybe against other species. The damage would destroy the galaxy. So they chose to sleep, Jiho whispered. They sacrificed their empire, their future, everything, so the rest of us could live in peace. Hana's eyes were wet. And now, we have woken them by force. We have proven we did not deserve their sacrifice. Across the galaxy, Yoon sat in her ship and made a decision. She had spent her whole life running from her past, from the questions about who she was. Now she knew. She was human, and her people were waking into a galaxy that wanted to destroy them. She set course for the dead zone. If war was coming, she would stand with her own kind. In the Orion barrier, Suho stood on the command deck of a station that had been dark for 3 centuries. Around him, other humans were waking. Engineers, soldiers, scientists, doctors. They stumbled from their pods, confused and frightened, trying to understand what had happened. A woman approached him, her dark hair tied back, her eyes sharp and calculating. Her name was Isol, and she had been a tactical officer in the Human Defense Force. Suho remembered her well. She was the best strategic mind in the fleet. "How many ships attacked us?" she asked. 300 Vrail vessels. We destroyed half. The rest fled. Isol's face went pale. "We killed them. After everything we did to avoid more killing, we killed them. They fired on sleeping humans," Suho said quietly. "The defense systems activated automatically. I could not stop it." A young man joined them, his face gentle and sad. Taeyang had been humanity's best diplomat. He had negotiated peace treaties with a dozen species. Now he looked at the data feeds showing military buildups across the galaxy. "They are preparing for war," Taeyang said. "The throne, the Kelrath, maybe even the Vrael. They see us as a threat now." "We are a threat," Isol said bitterly. "We always were. That is why we went to sleep." "Then we should go back to sleep," another officer suggested. "Seal the stations. Turn off the defenses. Let them think we are gone again." "It is too late," Suho said. He touched a control panel, and a hologram appeared, showing a map of the dead zone. All across it, red lights were blinking. "The fail-safe protocols are active. When the Vrail attacked, when they damaged the first pod, they triggered ancient security systems. Those systems are waking everyone. In 2 months, every human in cryosleep will be awake. Millions of us. We cannot stop it." Taeyang looked at the map with horror. "Then we must try diplomacy. We must make them understand we do not want war." "I will go," he said. "I will meet with their leaders." 3 weeks later, Taeyang's shuttle arrived at a neutral station where representatives from all the major powers had gathered. He came alone, unarmed, carrying only his words and his hope. He never made it to the meeting room. Throne radicals, believing humans were demons that must be destroyed, detonated a bomb as he entered the station. Taeyang died instantly, along with 37 other beings. When news reached Suho, he closed his eyes and felt something break inside him. They had tried peace. They had tried sacrifice. They had tried sleep. And still, the galaxy wanted blood. "Wake them all," he said to Isul. "Accelerate the protocols. Wake every human now." "That will take weeks," she protested. "And when they wake, they will be angry. They will want revenge." "Yes," Suho said. "And I cannot blame them." The Throne Third Fleet entered the dead zone with 500 ships, the largest military force assembled in a century. They found a human station and attacked it. Expecting an easy victory, they believed their numbers would overwhelm the ancient defenses. Yoon was there, in a small human frigate she had found and somehow activated. The ship responded to her touch, the way it had responded to Jiho's. She felt its weapons, its shields, its engines as if they were part of her own body. When the throne fleet opened fire, she did not think. She acted. The frigate moved like a dancer, impossibly fast, impossibly precise. Her weapons tore through throne ships, as if they were made of paper. She was one ship against 500. And she was winning. Other human ships joined her. Not many, just a handful, crewed by humans who had just woken and were still trying to understand where they were. But each human ship was worth 10, 20, 50 of the enemy vessels. The battle lasted 8 minutes. The throne lost 40 ships. The humans lost nothing. The surviving throne fleet ran, their pride shattered, their confidence broken. They sent messages back to the Emperor. The humans are not defeated. They are not weak. They are everything the old stories said they were. We cannot win this war. Indestade. They sang defeated my. Are supported with. We cannot win this war. But the Emperor did not listen. He sent more fleets. The Kelrath sent their ships too, trying to claim human technology by force. The galaxy was sliding toward a war that would make the ancient conflict look small by comparison. And deep in the dead zone, millions of humans continued to wake. They saw the news. They heard about Taeyang's murder. They learned that the galaxy they had tried to protect now wanted them dead. Isul stood beside Suho on the command deck and watched the military readiness reports. Humanity's old fleet was coming back online. Weapons that had slept for 300 years were being activated. Soldiers who had fought impossible enemies were preparing to fight again. We gave them everything, Isul said. We gave them peace. We gave them time. We gave them mercy. And this is how they repay us. They are afraid, Suho said. Fear makes people do terrible things. Then we should give them something to really fear, a voice said. They turned. Jiho stood in the doorway, with Hana beside him. Yoon was there too, fresh from her battle, her uniform stained with blood from a minor wound. I am human, Jiho said. I did not know it until recently. But I am. And I will not let them destroy my people. Because they are too foolish to understand what we sacrificed. We need to show them, Hana added. She was Vrail, but she had left her own people to stand with the humans. Show them the truth. Show them what you fought 300 years ago. Suho looked at them, these people who represented the bridge between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. Then he looked at his sensors, at the readings that had started appearing at the edge of known space. Strange signatures, impossible energy readings, the kind of readings that the old records warned about. We may not need to show them, he said quietly. I think the entities are coming back. The sensor readings were wrong. They had to be wrong. Isul checked them 3 times, ran every diagnostic she knew, and the results stayed the same. At the edge of the galaxy, space itself was tearing open. The readings matched the old records perfectly. The entities from beyond were returning. How long until they reach inhabited systems? Suho asked. 3 months, Isul said. Maybe less. The tears in space are growing faster than they did last time. Suho looked at the humans gathered around him. In the past 2 months, over 2 million had woken from their long sleep. Some were angry at being disturbed. Some were lost and confused. Some demanded revenge against the aliens who had killed Taeyang. But most just looked tired, as if 300 years of sleep had not been enough rest. We must tell them, Jiho said, pointing at the map showing the alien empires. We must tell them what is coming. They will not believe us, Yoon said bitterly. She had fought in 3 more battles against alien fleets. Each time, the humans won easily. Each time, more aliens died. She was getting tired of killing. They think we are the threat. Why would they listen? Because we have proof, Hana said. She had been working day and night, translating human records into languages the other species could understand. The old data from the First War, the sensor logs, the battle reports. We can show them exactly what the entities do, how they kill, how they destroy. We can make them understand. A tall woman entered the command center. Her name was Nari. And she was Vrail, like Hana. She had been a scientist on one of the ships that first entered the dead zone. When she saw how the Vrail military treated the sleeping humans, she defected. Now she worked with Hana, trying to build understanding between species. The Nomathi will listen, Nari said. They have been asking for communication from the beginning. Send the data to them first. Oh. Suho nodded. Do it. The Nomathi sovereignty received the data packet and studied it carefully. Their scientists examined the sensor readings, compared them to their own instruments watching the galaxy's edge. What they found terrified them. The humans were right. Something was coming, something that made human weapons look gentle by comparison. The Nomathi sent ambassadors to the Vrail, the Throne, and the Kelrath. The humans are not our enemy, they said. Look at the data. Look at what approaches. We must unite, or we will all die. The Throne Emperor refused to even see the ambassadors. The Kelrath Council of Merchants agreed to look at the data but took no action. The Vrail collective was torn between fear of the humans and fear of the unknown threat. They argued among themselves, while precious time slipped away. Meanwhile, a joint fleet of Throne and Kelrath ships, over 800 vessels strong, approached a human facility where thousands were still waking from cryosleep. The fleet commander had clear orders: destroy the facility before more humans could awaken. Suho received the warning with a heavy heart. He sent every available ship to defend the facility. Yoon commanded one squadron. Isul took another. They had maybe 50 ships total, many still being brought back online after 3 centuries of dormancy. 50 against 800, Yoon said over the comm. I have faced worse odds. Have you really? Isul asked. No, Yoon admitted. But it sounds brave to say it. The fleets met in the space between stars. The alien ships opened fire first. Thousands of weapons lighting up the darkness. Human shields flared and held. Human ships moved with impossible precision. Each one worth dozens of the attacking vessels. But there were simply too many enemies. The aliens had numbers. They had fresh crews and new ships. The humans were still waking up, still remembering how to fight after 300 years of peace. Jiho watched from the facility, his hands pressed against the viewing screen. He could do nothing but watch as the people he had just learned were his own kind, fought and died to protect him, and thousands like him. Then space tore open. Right in the middle of the battle, reality split apart. Something came through, something that did not belong in normal space. It was not a ship. It was not even matter, as most species understood it. The entity was made of twisted geometry and impossible angles, of colors that should not exist and sounds that drove living beings mad just to hear them. It attacked both sides equally. A Throne battleship fired every weapon it had at the entity. The weapons passed through it without effect. The entity reached out with appendages that existed in too many dimensions. And the battleship simply stopped existing. No explosion. No debris. It was there one moment and gone the next. Erased from reality, Yoon screamed into her comm. All ships, fall back. Forget the battle. That is the real enemy. The Throne and Kelrath commanders did not understand at first. They kept trying to attack the human ships, while also shooting at the entity. But the entity did not care about their politics or their wars. It killed everything it touched. Isul made a decision. She broadcast on all frequencies, in every language. All ships. This is human tactical command. We know how to fight these things. If you want to live, follow our lead exactly. Do not argue. Do not hesitate. Do exactly as we say. For a moment, there was silence. Then a Kelrath captain responded. What do we do? Target coordinates I am sending you now, Isul said, her fingers flying over her console. Fire everything you have on my mark. Human ships will create a resonance field. Your weapons will be amplified through the field. It is the only way to hurt them. The human ships moved into formation, their shields linking together to create a shimmering barrier of energy. The barrier did not block the entity. Instead, it changed the nature of space around it, forcing the entity to exist more fully in normal reality. Mark, Isul shouted. Hundreds of ships, human and alien together, fired. The combined weapons passed through the resonance field and struck the entity. This time, the weapons worked. The entity screamed in frequencies that shattered screens and cracked bulkheads. It twisted, trying to escape back through the tear in space. Suho, watching from the command center, gave another order. Seal the rift. Human ships fired specialized weapons at the tear in space. The tear collapsed, trapping the entity in normal space. Without its connection to wherever it came from, the entity began to break apart. It took 10 more minutes of concentrated fire, but finally it died, dissolving into particles that faded away. The battle was over. The alien fleet floated in space, damaged and stunned. They had seen their weapons fail. They had watched a human defense force half their size coordinate a victory against an impossible enemy. They had survived only because the humans saved them. A throne captain, her voice shaking, sent a message. "Why did you save us? We came to kill you." Suho answered personally. "Because 300 years ago, we fought these entities across the entire galaxy. We saw what they do to civilizations. We saw whole species erased from existence. We could not let that happen again, even to our enemies." He paused, then continued. "The rift sealed, but there will be more. The entities are breaking through all along the galaxy's edge. What you just fought was a scout, maybe a probe. The real invasion is coming. We can fight among ourselves and all die, or we can stand together and maybe survive." There was a long silence. Then the throne captain said, "What do we need to do?" Over the next weeks, everything changed. The Nomathi were the first to formally ally with humanity, offering their fleets and their shipyards. Hana and Nari worked together, convincing Vrail leaders that the true threat was not humanity, but the entities. Slowly, faction by faction, the Vrail began to join the alliance. The Kelrath followed, drawn by profit at first, but staying because they saw the logic. Human technology and tactics combined with their numbers could work. The throne ascendancy split. Half their empire refused to ally with humans, viewing it as shameful. But the other half, led by pragmatic admirals who had fought the entity, joined the alliance. It was better to share the galaxy with humans than to have no galaxy at all. Jiho found his place in this new order. His ability to interface with both human and alien technology made him invaluable. He became a bridge, helping alien engineers understand human systems, helping human technicians work with alien designs. Yoon took command of the first joint fleet, mixing human ships with alien vessels. She trained alien captains in tactics that humanity had learned fighting an enemy from beyond reality. She was good at it, patient and clear, and the alien crews began to respect her. Isul established an academy, a place where humans and aliens trained together. She taught them the mathematics of fighting entities, the physics of resonance fields, the strategies that had barely worked 300 years ago. She taught them, and they learned. Because they had no choice. Hana and Nari became the official historians of the Alliance. They documented everything, making sure the truth would survive no matter what happened. The truth of why humanity slept. The truth of the sacrifice. The truth of what was coming. Suho stood on the observation deck of the largest human station and watched the fleets gathering. Thousands of ships from dozens of species, all preparing for the war that was coming. It was not enough. It would never be enough. But it was more than humanity had fought with last time. The last of the cryopods were opening. Millions of humans were waking to find themselves in a galaxy that needed them again. Some were angry. Some were sad. But all of them remembered their duty. At the edge of the galaxy, the rifts were growing. More entities were coming through, testing the defenses, probing for weaknesses. The Alliance drove them back. But each battle was harder than the last. How long until the main invasion? Jiho asked Suho one day. Suho looked at the sensor readings. At the patterns Isul had identified. 3 weeks. Maybe 4. And when they come, they will come with everything. Will we win? I do not know, Suho said honestly. Last time, humanity barely survived, and we were at our peak. Now we are just waking up, and our allies have never fought anything like this before. But we have something we did not have last time, Jiho said. What is that? Each other, Jiho said, looking at the mixed fleets training together. Last time humanity fought alone. This time we fight together. Suho smiled despite his fear. Then maybe, just maybe, we have a chance. 3 months after the first entity appeared, the galaxy held its breath and prepared for war. Every shipyard worked day and night. Every species contributed what they could. The Nomathi provided advanced sensors. The Vrail offered their vast manufacturing capabilities. The Kelrath shared their knowledge of exotic materials. The Throne remnants brought discipline and numbers, and humanity gave them weapons that could kill gods. Suho stood in the command center of what they now called Unity Station, the heart of the Alliance. Around him, officers from a dozen species worked together. Their differences forgotten in the face of the approaching storm. The last human had woken from cryosleep 2 weeks ago. Millions of soldiers, engineers, doctors, and civilians now filled stations across the dead zone that was no longer dead. Final count? He asked Isul. She looked up from her tactical display. We have 7,000 ships. 3,000 are human vessels. The rest are allied forces. Against what is coming, it will not be enough. It never is, Suho said quietly. But it is what we have. The sensors showed the truth. At the edge of the galaxy, hundreds of rifts had torn open. Entities poured through like a flood. Vast and terrible. They came in shapes that hurt to look at, moving in ways that violated the laws of physics. Behind them, reality itself seemed to break down, leaving nothing but chaos. Yoon paced the bridge of her flagship, the Harmony, a ship that combined human design with alien technology. Her fleet consisted of 500 vessels, human and alien mixed together. They were the vanguard, the first defense line. If the entities broke through, there would be nothing between them and the populated galaxy. All ships, final checks, she commanded. Resonance field generators at maximum. Dimensional anchors ready. Remember your training. Do not fire until I give the word. If we waste our shots, we will not get another chance. Jiho worked frantically in Unity Station's engineering section, coordinating hundreds of technicians across dozens of systems. They were preparing something desperate. Something that might not even work. It was based on old human research. Theories that had been too dangerous to test during peacetime. Will it work? Hana asked, watching him adjust complex calculations. I have no idea, Jiho admitted. Minho's notes suggested it was possible, but he never had a chance to build it. We are trying to construct in 3 months what should take 10 years. What does it do? If it works, it creates a barrier across this entire region of space. The entities will not be able to cross it. They will be trapped on the other side. And if it does not work, then we all die. Jiho looked at her. But at least we die trying. Nari broadcast across every channel, human and alien. She read from the historical records she and Hana had compiled, telling everyone the truth. The story of humanity's sacrifice, the story of the First War, the story of why this battle mattered. They sleep so we could live in peace, she said. They gave up their empire, their power, everything they had built, because they cared more about the galaxy than about themselves. Now they stand beside us, not as conquerors but as allies. The least we can do is stand beside them. The message reached every ship, every station, every world. It changed hearts. It changed minds. Even in the throne territories that had refused to join the alliance, some ships quietly left to join the defense fleet. Better to fight with humans than to face the entities alone. The entities reached the first defense line. Yoon took a deep breath. All ships, activate resonance fields, link shields. Show them we are ready. 7,000 ships moved together in perfect coordination. The space between them shimmered as resonance fields connected. creating a web of energy that forced the entities into normal space where weapons could hurt them. The entities charged forward. There were thousands of them. Maybe tens of thousands. So many that sensors could not count them all. They slammed into the resonance field and began to tear at it, trying to break through. "Fire!" Yoon commanded. 7,000 ships opened fire as one. The combined weapons, amplified by the resonance field, tore into the entities. Dozens died in the first salvo. Then hundreds, but more kept coming, endless and unstoppable. The battle raged for hours. Ships died on both sides. The human cruiser, Defiance, took down 30 entities before its shields failed, and it was erased from existence. A Vrail squadron sacrificed themselves to protect a damaged human carrier. A Kelrath captain named Velkon held position against impossible odds, buying time for others to retreat and regroup. Isuel coordinated the defense from Unity Station, moving fleets like pieces on a board, always one step ahead of the entities. But even her brilliance had limits. There were simply too many enemies. The defense lines were breaking. "Fall back to position 2, she ordered. "Fighting retreat. Maintain the resonance field." The fleets pulled back slowly, making the entities pay for every meter of space. But they were losing. Everyone could see it. In the engineering section, Jiho's device was almost ready. Almost. He needed more time. Suho watched the battle reports and made a decision. "Isuel, can you hold for one more hour?" "Maybe," she said. "If everyone fights perfectly, and we get lucky." "Why?" "Because Jiho needs one more hour to finish the barrier." Isuel looked at the tactical display, calculating odds that no sane person would accept. Then she smiled. "We can do 1 hour. We did not wake up from 300 years of sleep just to lose now." She opened a channel to all ships. "This is tactical command. We need to hold for 1 more hour. Every ship, every captain, every crew member, I am asking you to give me 1 more hour. After that, we win, or we all go down together. Can you do it?" From across the fleet, from human and alien voices together, came the response. "We can do it." What followed was the most desperate hour of the war. Ships flew in formations that should have been suicidal but somehow worked. Captains made sacrifices that would be remembered for generations. The entity wave crashed against the Alliance fleet like an ocean against a cliff, and the fleet held. Yoon's ship took heavy damage. Her shields were gone. Her weapons were failing. But she kept fighting, kept moving, kept shouting orders even as her crew died around her. A massive entity, larger than any they had seen before, targeted Unity Station itself. If the station fell, the command structure would collapse. Isuel saw it coming and calculated that she could not stop it. Then a throne battleship, the Emperor's Pride, moved to block it. The ship's captain was one of those who had refused to join the alliance. But he had heard Nari's broadcast. He had learned the truth. And he made his choice. The Emperor's Pride died stopping the entity, taking it down in a mutual destruction that lit up the sensors. 30,000 throne crew members sacrificed themselves to save the alliance. In the engineering section, Jiho's hands moved over the controls. Hana stood beside him, ready to help. The device was ready. It had to be ready. There was no more time. "Activate it," Suho commanded. Jiho activated the barrier. For a moment, nothing happened. Then space itself began to change. A shimmer appeared at the edge of the battlefield, like heat waves rising from hot ground. The shimmer grew, expanded, spread across thousands of kilometers. The entities touched the barrier and could not pass through. They pressed against it, twisted around it, tried to break it. But the barrier held. It was based on the same principles as the resonance field, but permanent, stable, powered by massive generators that Jiho had built from Minho's ancient designs. "It is working," Hana whispered. "By the void, it is actually working." The barrier continued to expand, pushing the entities back, cutting them off from the rifts they had come through. The entities on the Alliance side of the barrier were trapped, cut off from reinforcements. "All ships," Isol commanded, Finish them. What was left of the Alliance fleet turned on the trapped entities with renewed fury. No more running, no more retreating. This was the end game. The battle lasted another 3 hours, but the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, the entities died. When the last entity fell, there was silence across the fleet. Then someone started cheering. Then another. Then everyone. Humans and aliens together, celebrating survival, celebrating victory, celebrating the fact that they were still alive to see another day. The barrier held. Behind it, more entities pressed and raged, but they could not break through. The galaxy was safe. For now, in the weeks that followed, the Alliance began to rebuild. Yoon stepped down from military command, tired of war, and became an instructor at Isul's academy. She trained the next generation of defenders, making sure they would be ready when the entities eventually found a way through the barrier. Isul continued to improve the defense networks, always planning, always preparing for the next crisis. She established academies on every allied world, teaching both humans and aliens to work together. Hana and Nari wrote the official history of the war. They made sure every species contributed to the record, that every sacrifice was remembered. The history would be taught to children across the galaxy, a reminder of what they had almost lost and what they had gained. Jiho became the chief engineer of the Alliance, responsible for maintaining the barrier and developing new technology. He worked in facilities that bore his ancestor Minho's name, carrying forward a legacy he had not known existed until a few months ago. Suho, exhausted and aging despite the years of sleep, stepped down from command. He wanted peace. He wanted quiet. He had earned it. But he stayed on as an advisor, always available when the Alliance needed wisdom from someone who had seen it all. A new Galactic Council formed, with representatives from every allied species. Humans were not in charge. They were equals, partners, one voice among many. It was what they had always wanted. On the first anniversary of the victory, a ceremony was held on Unity Station. Representatives from every species gathered to honor the fallen and celebrate the living. Speeches were made, medals were awarded, tears were shed. Jiho stood with Hana, Nari, Yoon, Isul, and Suho, looking out at the assembled crowd. Humans and aliens mixed together, talking, laughing, planning the future. "Do you think the barrier will hold forever?" Jiho asked Suho. "No," Suho said honestly. "The entities will find a way through eventually. Maybe in 100 years, maybe in 1,000. But when they do, we will be ready. All of us. Together." "We were told not to wake you," Hana said softly. "We were told to let you sleep. I think the galaxy is glad we did not listen." Suho smiled. "I think we are too. 300 years ago, humanity went to sleep because we did not trust ourselves to share the galaxy. Now we have proven we can. We have proven that strength is better when it is shared, that sacrifice means nothing if it stands alone, and that the greatest weapon we have is not our ships or our technology, but our ability to stand together." Across the station, a young Vrail child asked her human teacher a question. "Is it true? Did the humans really sleep for 300 years just to give us peace?" The teacher, a former soldier named Daeho who had fought in the final battle, knelt down to the child's level. "Yes, they did. Why? Because they believed we were worth saving, and in the end, we proved them right." The child thought about this, then smiled. "When I grow up, I want to be like the humans, brave and strong." "Then be brave," Daeho said. "Be strong, but also be kind. That is the real lesson. Strength without kindness is just cruelty." The humans knew that. That is why they slept, and that is why, when they woke, they did not conquer us. They saved us. Outside the station, the barrier shimmered in the starlight, holding back the darkness. Behind it, the entities waited and watched. But on this side, the galaxy was rebuilding. Together, and when the entities finally returned, as everyone knew they would, the galaxy would be ready. Not because of human weapons or alien numbers, or advanced technology. They would be ready because they had learned the most important lesson: that they were stronger together than they could ever be apart. That the barriers between species mattered less than the barrier they all stood behind. That humanity's greatest gift was not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to know when not to use it. They were told not to wake the humans. But the humans woke, and the galaxy was better for it.